Welcome back to the channel, guys, and in this video I'm gonna go ahead and review my top 3 favorite supplements. Oh wait, wrong channel. So we're gonna review the Perforator hand cannon. Now, I heard along the grapevine that this was one of the best, or not one of, but the best hand cannon in the game. So, I went ahead, grinded it out, built it out, and we're gonna see if that's true. Before we get started, guys, I just want to say 2 things. Number 1, hey, help your boy get to 500 subscribers. We are so close. So if you guys are enjoying my videos, or if this is your first time seeing my video, subscribe to the channel. That would be really cool. Hey, and if you do subscribe, you'll automatically get 5 pounds of muscle. So, The second thing that I want to say is, I grinded this weapon out, and then I accidentally deleted it. So then I had to re-grind it out. So, that was a pain in the, back there. So y'all should subscribe because I had to grind this weapon out twice, just to make this video. So y'all subscribe to the channel. Anyways, without wasting any more time, let's just get straight into this. All right, so the Perforator hand cannon right here, this bad boy right here. So, like normal, we're gonna go ahead and go over its stats and base stats and unique abilities. So the unique ability is called Detect. So on hitting a weak point, inflict damage to the enemy shield in proportion to their max shield at a set chance. The higher the firearm level, the closer this damage reaches the max limit. When damage dealt to the enemy completely depletes the target enemy shield, inflict stun with a set chance. So you get a little bit extra damage if you're attacking people with shields, and if you do and you break their shields, you can have a chance to stun them. So the basic information on this weapon is the hipfire accuracy is minus 20% and the aim shot accuracy is minus 20%. So the accuracy on this weapon kind of sucks. On weak point hits, your shield damage trigger rate on standard enemies is 50%, and the max damage is 60%. Standard. That's base. That's just base. Pretty much basic enemies. Now, when it comes to elites, your shield damage trigger rate 35%, and max damage 10%. Commanders. So the shield damage trigger rate for commanders is 20%, and the max damage for commanders is 1%. So that's a low chance. A low chance to hit that max damage, which is standard 60%. Yeah, so good luck hitting that. Now for Colossus, whatever what you want to be destroying in this game. Shield damage trigger rate is 1.5%. 1.5% chance to get bonus damage on their shields. That's rough. Let's go ahead and see about the stun. So the stun's trigger rate is 60% and the duration is only 1 second. So when you're attacking enemies or whatever, you do break their shields, it's 6% chance to stun them, and the stun only lasts for 1 second. So all in all, the Detect unique ability is really geared towards fighting enemies with shields. You get bonus damage towards enemies who have shields on, so it's not too bad. So the firearm attack for this weapon is pretty high at a 67,092 firearm attack with a really low fire rate of 99. Magazine size is pretty small as well at a 6, and your reload time is a 1.6 seconds. Not too bad for the reload time. Now, this part I want to talk about because firearm critical hit rate at 20% may sound good, but yeah, it's really good on assault rifles. That's really good on SMGs and LMGs, right? That's a great baseline critical hit rate. But those weapons also have 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 bullets. This has 6 bullets and shoots 1 at a time. So 20% is actually kind of bad. Your critical hit damage multiplier is a 2 times, that's a pretty solid baseline. Your attribute status effect trigger rate is 20%, which is okay. It is among the best out of all the weapons, but we're not too worried about that because we're not going for that particular type of build. But now our weak point damage This one is really high at a 2.25 times multiplier. So that's actually amazing. Now remember how the base stats of the ability reduced our accuracy. As you see, our hipfire accuracy is 55.55 and our aim shot accuracy is 94.44. So our accuracy did take a hit. Obviously, as you can see, that hipfire accuracy is low-key garbage. Now, what I rolled on this weapon, it's not the best rolls at all. So I mean, obviously I can go back and readjust this, but or keep rolling for some better stats on it, but you know, I need the materials to do that. So the Perforator I rolled with firearm critical hit damage, firearm attack, weak point damage, and attribute status effect trigger rate. Obviously I want to take that attribute one out and go ahead and put on firearm crit chance, and I would like to get these at least purple and not blue, because as you see, firearm critical hit damage is only 19.2. That's not great at all. So anyways, that's the base stats of the Perforator. Now that we got the base stats out of the way, let's go ahead and check out a build, right? So there's gonna be, I'm gonna go ahead and do one main build that I think should be ran on this weapon, which I think is personally the best way to use this weapon. And then I'm gonna show you some alternatives that you can use to make up for certain, you know, downsides of this weapon. So let's go for the first build. Now this first build, obviously, we got it because we want to crank out as much damage as we possibly can. So what do we got? Well, we got action and reaction, and we got rifle and reinforcement, the basic stuff to get our firearm attack up. So having these two on us put our firearm attack at plus 93%. We also went for critical hit rate right here, the plus 35%, which that's all we got on this build. And then we got our better concentration, and we got concentration priority for some critical hit damage. So we got our firearm attacks, we got our crits and stuff like that. So now, because this weapon did have a solid what was it, 2.25 times weak point multiplier, we decided to capitalize on that and put on weak point sight, have aiming for some more weak point damage, and then also weak point expansion for even more weak point damage. So we're really juicing that weak point damage on this hand cannon. But remember, you have to aim good for it to work. Now, these two slots came in here. This little ninja star one and this little like R symbol. This came on the weapon. Now this R1 is not. These two are actually not bad at all, and I'll explain why. So with this R1, as you see, I put accuracy in here, plus 30% and firearm critical hit damage. This weapon's accuracy is not the greatest, right? For being a precision weapon, you would like for your accuracy to be as close to 100 to over 100, because you're shooting one single shot, right? And you want to aim and you want to hit the spots that's going to give you the most amount of damage. So we put the aiming compensation on to assist in our accuracy, so that way wherever I want to shoot, my bullet will go there as long as my aim is correct. So put some accuracy on this bad boy, especially because the downside of this weapon is it does reduce your accuracy. So we got that. Now in this particular slot, you know, you would want to put, well, at least in my personal opinion, you would want to put a fire rate mod in there. So I would slap this bullet rain up in here if I had the spaces. I mean, I could go catalyze this one more time to try to get that to work, but you want to go ahead and put yourself a fire rate mod in here, because the fire rate on this is pretty low at a 99. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, I know that you only have 6 bullets in the mag, which isn't too great, but you know, you put this fire rate in there so at least you can crank out even more damage in a shorter window. So anyways, this is the main build that I think you should run. Alright, so for this DPS test, we're actually going to test out on different type of enemies, just because I want to show you, obviously, we know that this weapon is good against shields, because that's what its unique ability is built for, but I'm also going to go ahead and show you it against enemies with no shields. So let's obviously start with the enemies with some shields. 455,000, that's pretty good. 1,102,000. And then you see we got our 270. So now if you're wondering, why is it 270,000, 1.8 million, 1,100,000, 200,000, 400,000? If you're wondering why the fluctuation in damage and why it's not making any sense, well, this weapon is not the most sustainable when it comes to, you know, same numbers all across the board for two reasons. One, remember we have our unique ability on this, which is a, you know, the shield one. So you can get like up to a max damage increase or whatever when you're hitting shields, up to a percentage of their shields and all that good stuff. And then we also are running weak point expansion, where every 5 seconds on weak point hit, our weak point damage is plus 140%. Now, obviously, if you want to get the maximum amount of damage, the conditions are you get this, right? Get this buff to 140%, and then you also get a critical hit, and then you also get the maximum shield damage bonus. And that's how you'll crank out the most amount of damage with this weapon under certain conditions, right? So that means this weapon wouldn't be the absolute most like reliable when it comes to sustained damage. Now I want to go ahead and change the enemy type to a faction that doesn't really have shields. So, okay, actually, we're not gonna fight. Well, this is gonna be really bad because if you come into the firing range, right? Let me show you. Let me actually show you something. Watch. Actually, no. You know, we'll look at this weapon. Look, we're gonna look at this, the silly weeper right here. You see, it don't really have much of nothing on it. Watch if I shoot this guy. 400,000, 600,000. You know what I mean? Now go. Let's look at our eternal willpower. Do you see the damage it's hitting? Like when we hit a crit. No, let me show you. Let me show you what this is looking like. Talking about 1 million damage on, you know, before crit. If this thing would crit, then you know you could see what a crit's looking like. Oh my goodness. There we go. A 2.8 million crit, right? I don't really know what's going on in this practice range when it comes to fighting this faction, but it seems as if this particular faction does not have armor. At least in here. So there is no like armor rating or you know, crit resistance or anything like that on these guys. So I don't know what's going on, so it's kind of hard to do a solid comparison between shields and no shields just because these guys in here, I don't know. So we'll try these guys, but these guys are beefcakes. These guys got so much resistance, especially these dudes right here. Holy moly, these guys are tanky. But anyways, we'll see what it's looking like on here, but just remember this particular faction is fairly beefy compared to the other two. So 401,000, a 900,000 crit, not too bad. We got a 1.6. Yeah, a nice 1.6. So it looks like the highest that we're going to be hitting with this weapon, at least in the range, is a 1.6, right? So not too bad, because as you know, you'll see later in the video, we'll hit higher numbers than what you can see in here, just like when I did the Nazistra's Devotion video. In here, you know, you don't hit as high as the number as you do out in combat. So that's this build for the Perforator in a nutshell. Now, here's my main gripe and concern about the Perforator. Is it's pretty low crit chance for being a single shot weapon. For being a single shot weapon, 20% critical hit chance isn't too great. As you've seen in there, we're barely hitting crits out here. So, but the damage is solid. It really pushes out a lot of damage, right? Especially if you're getting weak point shots. It's just the critical hit chance kind of sucks. So that's why I went ahead and adjusted the build slightly to compensate for that, right? So let's go ahead and see what the second build is if you want to go for more of a crit side of this weapon. So we obviously still have, you know, action and reaction, rifle and reinforcement, better insight, better concentration, weak point sight, halved aiming, and aim compensation. The only two things that change is instead of having concentration priority, which is critical hit damage, I swapped that out for edging shot for critical hit rate and minus 15% firearm attack. And then we took out weak point expansion to go ahead and put on this mod. I'm not even gonna try to pronounce the name. So and this mod right here on weak point hits, firearm critical hit rates plus 45.5%, firearm critical hit damage plus 69.7%. So we're getting a lot more crit with these two mods on. As you can see, our crit rate is now 41.9% with only a 4.3 crit damage multiplier. And as you see right here, crit damage multiplier is higher because remember we're 4.3 instead of our 3.6. Weak point damage is 7 times on the first one, and then on the second one, weak point damage is only 3.9. So it's a big hit on the weak point damage, but you'll hit more crits. So let's go ahead and see what this one looks like here, right? Did you see that? The first clip, all 6 bullets, not a single crit. That's crazy. Wow, 1 crit, and it was only 700,000 on a crit. So, yeah. Unless these enemies themselves have crit rate resistance or something, like reduce your chance to crit on them, I don't know. Let's go ahead and see. Let's test it on these guys. Okay, so I deduct that either my RNG is absolutely garbage because something ain't adding up. Let's go ahead and look at the raw stats of this thing, right? Our fire critical hit rate is a 32.8% with a 126,132 firearm attack. Obviously, same fire rate, same rounds, same reload speed. Critical hit damage was only a 3.34. And our weak point damage is a 4.14. We are, this build is not that great, in my personal opinion, just because the critical hit rate on this weapon isn't too busting in the first place. Like a 20%, yeah, like I said, it may be good on fully automatic weapons, but it's not a great crit rate on single shot weapons. That's why, as you see, snipers tend to have upwards of 50%. These ones seem to have just higher than 20, which is good enough to allow that weapon to crit a lot more. So I don't recommend investing critical hit rate on this weapon. I would say stick to its strong points. As you can see here, strong points is weak point damage. Obviously slap some crit in there, the baseline crit, so that way just in case you can hit some crit, but weak point damage is going to be your friend. So stick to the first build that I made. Maximize the weak point damage because you see we got a 7 times weak point damage multiplier. And if we go ahead and, even if we do not get any crits like we weren't getting, at least, look at that. Like, at least your damage is going to be through the freaking roof here. Still, you know, if you do hit a crit, and your baseline damage won't be too horrible either. I'm not really sure why we're hitting more crits with less crit chance, but, you know, that's just the name of this game. RNG is horrendous. So, that is the Perforator. All in all, let's review the weapon book, and then I'm going to show you guys some gameplay so you guys can see this weapon in action. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and, we're going to use Backdraft Blair and go ahead and maximize the amount of damage that this hand cannon can get. So let's go ahead and do that, and I want to show you the upper limits of this damage real quick. $2.3 mil. Now that's the Perforator. The Perforator, the ultimate hand cannon. Is it worth grinding out for? I would say so if you like hand cannons. It's definitely a solid weapon. Some of the pros to this weapon is it has potential to really do stupid high numbers, especially if the target has a shield. Yeah. But the downside to this weapon is pretty low magazine size, so you're going to find yourself reloading quite a bit. And then also the fire rate is fairly low as well, alongside the baseline accuracy. So although this weapon does have some low baseline stats when it comes to magazine size and fire rate and accuracy, I still don't think that's enough to put this weapon in a, trash tier or throw it in the garbage. This weapon is pretty freaking solid, and I would definitely recommend grinding it out if you are interested in a hand cannon, if that's your playstyle, if you like precision shots and hitting big numbers. As you know, I'm a sucker for big damage, so I went ahead and grinded it out. You could obviously do better if you rolled better stats than me. As you see, I rolled straight blue. That purple one doesn't matter because it's status effect trigger rate, but I rolled straight blue on here. Obviously, it could be better. We'll be able to push out a little bit more damage. As you've seen, with Blair Max, we're hitting like 2.3 mils, but without using the Blair buffs and just a raw weapon, and the firing range, at least on level 100 enemies, we're hitting about, what was it, 1.8 at our highest. So that's really solid weapon, really solid overall. I would recommend that you get it. Now, let's say this is something that you really, really want. I would definitely recommend that you take the time to grind out multiple of these, right? So if you get 5 total, you'll max out the unique ability. So you get 1 to make it, and you get 4 more to max out unique ability. Maxing out this unique ability will definitely jump this weapon's performance up, especially since this is a chance-based weapon when it comes to getting your damage. So if that's something that you want, if this is a weapon that you want to invest in, this is a really good weapon to invest in. You get mobility, you can move around, you know what I'm saying? If your accuracy is good, quick snappy damage. Like right out the gate, there is no build-up time, there is no, sit in one spot for a second while you're shooting. It's straight out raw damage per shot. So I would definitely recommend this. So with that portion of the video done, we went over the build. I'm gonna go ahead and put this put some gameplay up here next. Obviously, I'm gonna go ahead and show you what it's looking like on a Colossus. Man, I'm gonna try to get a clip of the special ability proccing or activating, but we'll see. If I don't, you'll just see the raw damage of this weapon in action. And then also we're gonna run a dungeon so that way you can see what it's looking like in there against somewhat standard mobs, elites, and commanders. So if you guys enjoyed the video, and if you guys want to see this in action, stay tuned. If you were just here for the build video, hey, thank you very much for staying, and thank you very much for watching. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your boy's trying to get that nice 500 subscribers. We are right there. I think at the time of this recording, we are at 399. So that's pretty freaking awesome. And yeah, stay tuned. Watch this thing absolutely annihilate everything. And that's all I got for y'all. Until next time.